This is Nema Brewer. Well, it's a mess in Kentucky right now. I think it's a mess in a lot of states around the country. Kentucky is a little different from what's been going on in West Virginia and other places in the sense that we haven't really asked for anything more than what we already have. We're just trying to hold on to our pensions. And so what's happened in Kentucky is that those pensions have come under attack. They wanted to make some structural changes, not only to people who are still in the system, but people who are retirees, so current employees and retirees. And that was just unacceptable to us. And so that was kind of where our fight started.
And Kentucky is a rich state. There's a lot of money. What's happening with education? Why are the teachers and the students suffering in Kentucky?
Well, Kentucky is actually not a rich state. I think that's kind of one of the things people don't realize just based off the horse. What you see on TV is not really true. You see something from Kentucky, about bourbon and the horses running.
Oklahoma and West Virginia.
Yeah, so we're a little bit less, well off, I believe, than a lot of people realize. The thing is that we've always managed to do some good things with our public education system up until recently. And what happened is we had some people get elected into office that probably shouldn't have when it comes to public education. They were really pushing charters. They were really pushing more taxes on working people, less taxes on corporations. And so what happens is then, the money, basically the turnip's been sucked dry. There's no more blood in the turnip in Kentucky, and that's a problem.
Where is the taxes going? Because what's happened with taxes in Kentucky?
Well, what's going on is that we bring in about $11 billion in revenue every year in our state, but we give out $13 billion in exemptions. So what we have is we're upside down, and we're upside down because a lot of these corporations that are coming in are giving these, these ludicrous exemptions. They're really not paying their share. It's a lot of corporate welfare going on. And the other thing that's going on is there's a lot of weird loopholes in our tax system anyway. For example, in the state of Kentucky, you pay taxes on your dog food, but you don't pay taxes on horse feed. That's, make no mistake, that's by there's obviously a lobbying group that's been pushing for that since we're known for our horses in the state. Up till recently, golf carts haven't been taxed, limousines haven't been taxed, those rentals. So there's been a definite tip towards people who are a little bit more well off than the regular working class people in the state.
And how is it that teachers finally are fighting back? Because teachers have been pounded on a lot, scapegoated for the crisis in education. Is that going on in Kentucky too?
Oh, sure. And, I think what happened was the breaking point was the pensions, because this is something that we thought was ours. What I've said is that we're not asking for a dog turd with sprinkles. We just want the dog turd that we have. And so what's happened is that when you start trying to take away something people thought they already had, then you're going to see this uprising that's been happening in Kentucky. Because what we're trying to do is we're not asking for a penny more. We're not asking for a Cadillac plan. We just want what we thought we already had and what we signed up for, what was in our contract. And so now it's a violation of that contract in our minds, and so we've been fighting pretty hard for it.
And this uprising, what does it mean to have an uprising?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen. People who didn't think they had power to discover that they actually do, that their voice matters, that when you stand together, shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and sisters and your colleagues, you really can make a difference. Now, the big question for us is, can we make a difference at the polls? Can we put aside all of our partisan differences and the rhetoric, and can we actually come together and put people in office that are pro-worker, that are pro-public education? That's the next phase for us. We've run out of legislative time in Kentucky. That's the hardcore reality. Our legislators only meet again twice for veto days. Our governor's not going to give us anything. Let me tell you that right now. He ain't going to help us one bit. And so what we're doing now is we got to put pressure on our local folks, and we're going to vote them out of office. You can bet your ass on that.
And West Virginia, the union there, the workers did not have collective bargaining. They didn't have a contract, and yet they were able to beat the governor of the legislature. What does that say?
Well, it's pretty amazing. We don't have collective bargaining either in our state, as far as I think that one district actually has a contract. The rest of us are pretty much on our own. And I think, again, when people are on message and on point and they pound that message and they own that message, it's really hard to move them. We've dug in. We're dug in. This is a long fight for us. We know. We know what's in front of us. And if we can just keep everybody calm and everybody focused, then we're going to win at the end. We're going to win at the polls.
And parents, how are they involved in their kids?
I tell you, our parents, our communities have been great. They have, the support we've seen from across the state has been amazing. I think they're tired of their teachers getting kicked around. I'm a product of public education. My daughter goes to public schools. I think that what happens is that, you know, we're not greedy people. Public employees aren't greedy people. We do a lot of stuff for less pay for the promise of a paid retirement. And so I think that what's happened is I think the communities have, for the most part, rallied around us. Now, the business communities haven't. They've been against us from day one, and they're still against us. But we know who they are, so we're gonna get them too.
And the situation in the schools, I know in Oklahoma they were bringing up books on taped together. I mean, the national budget, $65 billion more for military, and we don't have money for books in this country for kids.
Yeah, we lost the textbook funding again for the budget. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. We lost funding for our pre-K programs, which honestly, that's when learning starts. The younger you can get kids reading and involved in their educations, the better off. So we've lost quite a few things in this budget still. And they've slapped a flat tax on us across the board, which is good for corporations and rich folks. They're going to be paying the same rate that somebody who makes $30,000 or less a year is making.
So there's regressive taxes.
A regressive tax system has been implemented. They pushed that through in the last 2 days of session as well. And, you know, we were asking for funding to be found first, and they found it all right, and it's off our backs again, which is basically what's been going on in this whole country. And until everybody, not just Kentuckians, realize that this is what's going on. You are the ones that are paying for it. These companies aren't paying for it. These fat cats aren't paying for it. You are. Until we all realize that and get together, you know, we're just going to be hurting and fighting the rest of the time. But I think people are rising up. I think Kentucky's rising. I think people across this country are saying no more. We can't do this anymore.
They've had enough.
They've totally had enough. And, you know, my dad was a United Mine Worker, and I saw him, you know, pull out and walk the picket line for 100 days once. And, you know, and he did it because it was the right thing to do. And what's happened in this country is that labor unions have been vilified, made to be the enemy. And, you know, we can't look at each other like that. We're all working people. It don't matter if you have a degree. It don't matter if you're white collar. It don't matter. We're all working people. Unless you're in the upper 1%, you should be in this fight too.